Welcome to another episode of Champions of Marketing. My guest today is the CEO of Kyndoo, Kelly McDonald. Kyndoo are a San Francisco-based influencer marketing company. Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I appreciate you taking the time on a vacation right now. It looks lovely where you are there in California. I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah, it's nice and cold, but it's definitely beautiful here for sure.
Nice to get away from the city, no doubt.
Yes.
So, Kelly, I wanted to start off just by understanding your background in the sales and marketing industry. Looks like you've got quite a lot of experience across many different companies. So, what led you to becoming a startup founder and working in the influencer marketing space today?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of my background in general, all the way back to my first job outside of college, which was for Quicken Loans, really, set me up for like where I am today in terms of, there's no shortage of hard work or effort that went into the efforts that we put in and the long hours that I put on in there that, very much play into the same work ethic that I have to have today as a founder and CEO. But generally speaking, I think, having the path from my very first startup that I joined with a company called My Insurance Expert, which happened to be a subsidiary of Quicken actually. But it's addictive. And once you get into this lifestyle of building something from scratch, it just kind of goes from there. I had lots of tremendous sales training in those early days at Quicken and at My Insurance Expert and other companies that I think that really helped me, when I got to having to maybe sell early on products at other companies. And then the first marketing company I joined was a company called RME. Then we're in Florida, and we were really focused on helping financial advisors find new clients. And so one of the things there that we really did a lot of was data analysis of like different zip codes and folks who live there and what they were interested in and things like that. The financial advisors could then prepare topics around that. And it was really very helpful to me in terms of opening my eyes of all the world of data that existed out there and how it can be used for marketing. And as I, was working there, I got contracted or called by a company called Mavoda Real Estate that asked me to come to San Francisco and start working with them and their sales team. And, it just kind of grew from there. When you're in a startup, you wear multiple hats, and so you might be the head of sales, but if you're, starting and you're the head of sales of a brand new product, you're going to have some role in the marketing of that product in terms of, well, where can we find clients and who is the persona of the folks that we are going to be selling this to, and testing different ideas and learning what the value propositions are. And so, that's kind of what originally, got me into the marketing piece of, what we do now. And then, it's also coming to San Francisco. One of the reasons we moved here is because I wanted to start a startup at some point. And so we came here very much with that intent that we were going to do that. And it was a lot of, testing the right idea until I found something that I thought was an actual really big problem that needed to be solved. And it actually, for me, has a lot of ties all the way back to my days in the mortgage industry. Prior to 2008, there was a lot of riffraff in the industry and they weren't necessarily taking care of clients in the right way. And I think when mortgage licensing came about, the industry really changed overnight and it got rid of a lot of bad brokers out there and bad lenders. And I think that's kind of when I think about the validating of influencers, it's the same thing. There's millions of people claiming to be an influencer, but how many of them have just bought their followers or done other nefarious activities to get their place? I think it's time to clean up this industry too.
So, what's it been like being a startup founder in San Francisco?
Well, I don't think there's any other better place to be doing it. I think there's a lot of really great cities and towns where there's a lot of startup energy going on right now, like Austin and Nashville, just to name two quickly off the top of my head. And even my hometown of Detroit is another great place to have a company. But the thing that you get here in San Francisco is that almost everybody is working at a startup of some sort. And there's a lot of folks who are like-minded in the sense that they know what you're going through. They can help you with, connections that you might need, or somebody knows somebody who can solve that problem or has solved it before. And it's just the environment of it's 24/7. We're all hustling to try to build something that will change the world, right?
Mm.
And so being around everybody else who's doing the same thing is helpful with the amount of pressure and stress that goes with that.
But tell me about Kyndoo. What do you guys do that is maybe different from other influencer marketing startups out there?
Yeah, I think what really is very different from us than our competitors is that we are really starting with the audience in mind and thinking about, who is it that they are following and are actually really influenced by, and then we kind of work backwards to find the right influencers for those folks. On top of that, I would say the other piece that makes us very different is we are what I like to call influencer first. So we're also the only company that is really in the space that is really thinking about how can we help influencers who are professionals at this, who are putting in the time and effort and energy that it takes to be a true creator and influencer, uh, stand out from the crowd and the sea of people who are faking it. And so we really do, we're trying to build a lot of tools and help them, give them tips on how they can be more successful as well.
What does an influencer mean to you? There's a lot of people out there that they've got a ton of followers. They might consider themselves an influencer, but from someone that is an expert in the field, a founder, a CEO of a company in influencer marketing in the Bay Area, nonetheless, what does it really mean to you to be an influencer?
Yeah, I think it's somebody who has a specific thought thesis on whatever it is that they're going to go out and create on a regular basis and are trying to share those, best practices or insights with their audience. And so, if you're a beauty influencer and you're sharing your makeup tips or whatnot, and you're doing that consistently day in and day out, like that's a lot of work that goes into making those videos and whatnot, and finding the right makeup and then testing it yourself. And, so those folks are being able to really do all the hard work that goes into letting their, followers know like what they should or shouldn't be using. And so to me, I think it's somebody who's really putting in the effort and the time to entertain, delight, inform their audience base, and hopefully give those people a little bit better of a day. Right, that's our goal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the difficulty and the time that it takes to be a great influencer and to make
Oh
money.
yeah,
It's definitely not a get rich quick scheme.
no,
It is yeah. You need to know your stuff. You need to be passionate about it. You need to put out really good content, and you need to do it consistently.
yeah, absolutely. I think the average influencer that we talked to, when we asked them like how long was it before they felt like they really, knew their craft and were doing kind of what they're doing today at this point at least. And they'll tell you that usually it takes them about 2 years to build that really authentic, engaged audience base that cares about what they're talking about, where they understand that they feel they also understand what the audience is looking for, and that they can now start creating on a regular basis, good content that is consistently, watched or responded to, however they are measuring their own success. But it definitely doesn't go on overnight. And I think what people don't realize, and Chris, you probably know this better than anyone because you have to edit, these interviews and whatnot. 1 minute of video can often take 10 hours to produce. And so when folks are doing these very complicated sessions where it's either an unboxing or a product review, or actually, especially like makeup or fashion, those can take a really long time to create.
Yeah, no doubt. I've worked with video production and audio production on and off as a hobby for many years now, and I've always had the appreciation of how hard it is to do, and especially travel bloggers or
Oh,
travel
yeah.
vloggers. That for me is super difficult because not only are they out there traveling and they have minimal equipment to work with, it's terrible internet connection if they're in third world
Yeah.
countries, developing countries, and they're trying to get content out to a million followers. Every couple of days or every week. It's pretty difficult stuff.
Yeah, I mean, then also like you have to find the right shot, right? So you're going to a place you've never been, and you've got to, scout the shot, take the right shot, hope the lighting stays from your plan to what it actually comes out to be. But yeah, there's a ton of work that goes into it. One thing for sure I know is that I have the easy side of the job of helping these folks find the right brands and whatnot, because actually creating the content is a whole different beast that I have so much respect for these folks.
One of the things you mentioned earlier was engaged followers, that
Mm-hmm.
keyword of engaged followers. A big problem right now in the influencer marketing industry that a lot of companies are facing is fake influencers. But
Yeah.
people that are buying followers, they're buying likes and essentially increasing their engagement rate beyond what it really is, which can lure brands into giving them money when they're not actually going to get the outcome of brand awareness or conversion to sales. So, talk to me about this problem. How big of a problem is it in the industry right now?
It's a huge problem. It's estimated that just in this year alone, more than $3 billion is going to be lost to fake influencers. And that's obviously a lot of money when you think about the fact that it's only a $10 billion estimate this year that's going to happen overall. So 30% is going to go to fraudulent people. So it's really terrible. And then 60% of influencer accounts, which let's say that's anybody who has more than 1,000 followers in some cases, depending on which platform you're at, are going to show at least one form of fraud on those accounts. And that could be, like you mentioned, fake comments or tag to win schemes or participating in Instagram pods. There's a lot of different ways that people go about it. And it's part of the reason why we say you have to use a system like Kyndoo or, maybe one of our other competitors who may have similar capabilities to really help you figure out, what's right and what's right for you and your campaign, right? It really depends on what type of engagement you need or what's going to be most important to you on what a brand should really be focusing on. Uh, the influencers also always are not necessarily um, going out there and buying fake comments just because they have one fake comment on there. There's a lot of companies out there that will try to comment, put fake comments on an influencer's post just so they can get some of their followers to follow them. And so it's really very difficult to, without some technology behind it, tell exactly what's going on.
So, what's Kyndoo doing differently to other startups out there that are working in influencer marketing to help brands, help companies avoid fake influencers?
So there's two things that we're doing. One is we're using some private data that we're able to leverage through third-party APIs, where one of the benefits to Kyndoo is our influencers are actually vetted and opted into our program. And so they come in and they give us the, OAuths into their accounts. So we can go on the backside and we can kind of monitor growth and what they're doing from there and what results are actually happening. But on the front side, we're also using public information to go ahead and analyze these, followers of theirs and the comments they're making. We're able to also keep a watch on some third-party sites that we are known for, nefarious behavior. And so we can create blacklists, for example, where we can say, okay, we know that this is a bot account, then we can go ahead and we can flag that across the board as bots accounts. And so what we're able to do is provide for brands like out of your 100 million, your 1 million followers, let's say 25% of them are probably bots. We're able to then say, let's analyze the rest of the information around that 70% of real people, roughly.
It seems pretty simple for someone with a little bit of money and some know-how to become a fake influencer. And for
Oh,
the
yeah.
average person, it's nearly impossible to differentiate a fake influencer from a real influencer. Say someone that's like 10,000 followers, maybe they're a travel influencer. What is your advice as someone that started a company around influencer marketing? What's your advice to a person that wants to become an influencer to earn money, to make a living, but to do it the right way?
Yeah, I think the very first thing I would say is like plan. This is a long-term marathon. It's not a sprint. And so, you really have to, one, make sure that this is a topic that you're super passionate about and that you're going to want to share with people for years on end. So I think because just like starting a regular startup, right? It's a business and you're going to have to put in long hours and create a lot of content. And you're going to have to really make sure that you are wanting to do this for a long term. So that's baseline. I think the second thing is like have a really great thought thesis on, what is it that you want to share and put together, having a theme around what you are sharing. So for example, if you're going to be a food influencer, it's probably a good idea either to show something like you're going to show your finished dish on every post, right? Versus somebody who's like, hey, I'm going to take you grocery shopping, and then I'm going to show you this, can of soup that I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to show you this plated dish. Like having too much variety can actually really, make your audience not know what to expect when they're seeing it and kind of disengage as much. So you really have to almost have like a real consistent theme to your message that people can look at your page and know exactly what you're talking about, especially if you want to make money from this from brands. Because I'll tell you what, brands, they come in, all the metrics I show them, they're really excited about it. But when it comes down, I can show them the perfect metrics for their perfect audience. And if they don't like the way your feed looks, they're just going to pass. Like if they can't tell what you do or you're talking about, they don't care.
So for a new influencer that's looking to join your platform, Kyndoo, what's the process from beginning application to qualified influencer ready to take on marketing opportunities?
Yeah, so our minimum at Kyndoo is actually that you need to have 10,000 followers on any one of the major platforms that we support. And that's pretty much every social site that's out there. And the reason that we chose that number of 10,000 while most of our competitors are at 3,000 or 5,000 or something is because I actually really believe and can tell from the engagement levels that everybody knows like 5,000 people, whether you think you do or not. 5,000 people that will consistently like and, respond to the stuff that you put up, but it doesn't mean they're going to go out and buy something or, think about a product in a different way than they have before. So we set that threshold 10,000 because it just means that you're putting in that much more effort to get these real people who are really engaged with you. So once you have that and that's your minimum and you sign into our platform and you auth into your social media accounts, we're actually able to do a lot of the vetting for the authenticity right there behind the scenes. It generally takes anywhere from 1 to 15 minutes for us to create the authorization for, yes, this person passes our thresholds. Once they do that, then they're released onto the platform where they can then be found by brands. We do a couple manual checks as well to make sure there's nothing like pornography or hate speech or anything like that. And then in the future here, we're planning on doing things like requiring a certain number of reviews once we've kind of reached a threshold where we feel like we have enough people that we want, and we're going to start getting more picky on who's actually allowed into the platform and the types of influencers we want in there or whatnot too.
Right, so that's how an influencer joins. If I'm a brand, if I'm a company, and I want to use your platform to advertise with influencers, talk me through that process.
Yeah, the process is simple in terms of the fact that you reach out, set some time for a demo, and then we're going to get on the phone with you and we're going to figure out exactly what you need. We actually have a couple different ways that brands can work with us. One is, a real simple, you can come on our platform, leverage it to find the people you want and engage with them directly right on the platform. We have like end-to-end management of the campaign. Some of the brands that we've worked with don't necessarily have a lot of experience in terms of, what is it that I'm looking for? How will I know if the post is a good post, et cetera? And they need a little bit more handholding. And so we're also happy to do more managed services where we'll do a little bit more of the vetting once an influencer shows interest in the brand's offer, and then recommend to them that this person is really a real authentic fit for you, and you're probably going to want to hire them. And generally speaking, brands end up hiring 9 out of 10 influencers that we introduce them to.
And how do you manage the payments between brand and influencer? I know that has been an issue before, and agencies and startups like yourself do solve that problem. So talk to me a little bit about payment structure, payment terms, and how all that works.
Yeah, and so Kyndoo is really the only platform that's out there that is 100% paid campaigns. So we don't allow for any in-kind offers to be made on our platform whatsoever. And part of the reason for that is because one of the very first things I realized when I started digging into, do I want to work on influencer marketing for 10 years type of thing, was the fact that a lot of influencers are being taken advantage of. And people are offering them, a free $30 blow dryer for a 3-minute video. And, as you know, that works out to pennies on the time. And so we established very early on that we were never going to allow for anyone to go be underpaid for their services here. And the second thing that I found out was that often that even if they are paid, they have to spend months chasing down their payment. Mainly sometimes just because the guy in marketing approved it didn't mean that the guy in accounting approved it. And, and there's a lot of effort that goes in and lost payments. And so what we decided to do very early on is we collect 100% of the payment up front from the brands, and we hold it in an escrow until after the final post is done. And then at that point, we pay out to the influencer directly. If for whatever reason, the influencer doesn't meet their contractual obligations, doesn't post the content they're supposed to, et cetera, we can get involved. And then, ultimately, if it doesn't work out, we'll refund the money to the brand.
Is it up to the influencer how much they charge for a product?
It is, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One, I really feel, like I said before, this shouldn't be a race to the bottom, like you see in a lot of like marketplace and a lot of our competitor sites, where people are forced to do things for nothing. And that's, I think, gig work in general has gotten a really bad, connotation to it, because it's just leading to more poverty in a lot of cases. But brands are really benefiting from this. I mean, the return on investment is huge for these companies. So I really strongly feel like they can afford to, invest in something that is giving them such a great result, especially in the case of our folks who are highly authentic, have very highly authentic, engaged audiences as well. There should be no reason a brand doesn't see the return on investment that they're paying out for the influencer. And we do coach the influencers. If someone says, hey, this is like a $15 item that they're going to promote and they want $5,000 for a post, we'll say, like, hey, it's a lot of skinny tea you're going to have to sell there, right? Or whatnot, to kind of, help them really think through, as a lot of them have never had, what you and I would consider to be normal day-to-day office jobs, that sometimes, thinking about how a business is thinking about this is very different for them too.
Can you shout out any particular influencers that are doing great things working with your platform?
Yeah, I think if one I just did, the review that she got today said in 8 years, you're the best that I've worked with. That was like Jamie Sire, who just recently did a campaign with us with the California Olive Ranch, and just did a really beautiful, 30-minute cooking class on her Instagram TV. And it was just like really phenomenal. And I just think, Barclay Stockett, who's a 5-time American Ninja Warrior, is another one who's been working with us recently. And so we just have some really high quality folks who are just doing amazing things. And it's exciting to work with these people every single day.
Sounds great. So it seems like you guys are very influencer first. You treat the influencers with respect. You want to make sure that they're getting paid in a timely manner, that they're working with brands that care about them and take them seriously as a marketing platform. So for the brands out there, the companies out there, and the influencers out there that want to get in touch with you and want to get on your platform or learn a little bit more, where can they contact you, Kelly?
Yeah, so they can email me directly at Kelly@Kyndoo. That's fine. I'm happy to always take an email or a call, either way, at Kelly@Kyndoo.com, or they can go to Kyndoo.com themselves and sign up for a demo. Influencers who are interested, they're more than welcome to sign up. And as long as they pass our vetting, we'll go ahead and they'll be on the platform. So yeah, it's really quite simple of a process, and we're excited to, keep building and hopefully helping more and more brands and more influencers as we go along this path here to really just create a better, more vibrant industry that has, passes its awkward teenage years, is kind of where we're at right now. And I'd love to see it come into like a really, full adult, concept here.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Really interesting conversation. Sounds like you're doing really great things there at Kyndoo. So once again, for any influencers or brands out there that wanted to get in touch with Kyndoo, I'll leave a link in the description to Kelly's LinkedIn profile, also the Kyndoo website, and also her contact details if you wanted to email her. Kelly, any last thoughts on influencer marketing for the people watching?
What I would just say is, if you're a brand and you haven't tried it, try it. It'll definitely, it's a game changer for you. And influencers who are out there, I know you're getting requests every day that say, I'll help you, add another 10,000 followers to your account overnight. Like, resist the temptation. The hard work will pay off in the end if you do it the right way.
Thanks a lot, Kelly. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.